Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, wants to give a big shout out to all the truckers that listen to our show.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
And here we are. We're talking about Star Trek, a studio in Georgia. I tell you, if I had that as a man cave, I tell you what, I would love doing my show even more than my man cave. I tell you what, I would never, James, you know what, and Ray, I would never leave it. I would have my food delivered there. I'd be living in a fantasy, which is certainly better than the fantasy that's going on right now. There 7 days a week, 24/7.
Yeah, that would be awesome to have that. You know, it kind of reminds me on the old Steinfeld episode, Kramer had the Merv Griffin studio brought in. He'd have his friends come over and act like Merv. But, yeah, that'd be great to have the old bridge sitting in there and just have your friends over and play a little Star Trek.
Yeah. Hey, Ray, how hard is it to, the maintenance of it, to run the studio? I mean, what is all involved? I mean, I'm certain you have to carry all kinds of insurance and binders and all this stuff. And has your county or city or anything ever hassled you about it at all or anything?
No. Again, it's been there quite a long time now, 10 or 12 or 13 years. But you're right. I actually had to get two different liability insurance policies. And, you learn things as you go along, right? So I had to get one for the general public to be able to walk through, and I had to get a second one for film crews to be on set. So I have two liability insurance policies, and there's rent. We don't own the building, so there's monthly rent. There's monthly utilities. And, you can imagine as well, after 10 plus years, sets get worn, sets need work, sets get chipped, some sets get broken, some parts of sets get broken. So maintaining it is a challenge. We also, we don't charge for people to come in and see it. But we do ask, for donations, and, we have a Patreon campaign out there to just help us, maintain it because it is rather expensive.
Well, how can they find you on Patreon?
Well, we have a website. The name of the studio, which we never really talked about, is The Neutral Zone. Little interesting story behind that, but it's called The Neutral Zone. And you can find us at neutralzonestudios.com, and there are all kinds of links, how to support us, making your own fan film. We have a calendar of events. So we try to keep, as much information online as possible.
Interesting. Now, again, people check out the Neutral Zone. Go Google it, check it out, see how you can help support it. I mean, there's not many people doing what Ray is doing. Question: how did you come up with the Neutral Zone?
Well, let's see. So originally, when I opened the studio, I called it Stage 9 Studios. And Stage 9 was because Stage 9 was the name of the studio where Star Trek filmed at Paramount in 1966. And that seemed to serve its purpose well. And sometime towards the end of 2018, there was an independent group in the UK who had created sort of like a virtual walkthrough, and they called themselves Stage 9 Studios. And it caused a whole lot of problems with permission, and they eventually were shut down. But people started writing me saying, I heard you guys were given a cease and desist. And I said, well, this isn't going to work. So I got in touch with CBS, and I said, I've got 12 ideas on what to rename the studio. And they came back to me and they said, well, here are the ones that, we are okay with, if you will. And one of them was the neutral zone. And there's a lot of interesting things that go on in and around Star Trek fandom. And I said, you know what? I just want to be neutral in all of this. And I said, I'm going with the neutral zone. And that's sort of how it came about.
Well, you couldn't have picked a better name, honestly. I mean, if you couldn't have Stage 9, the neutral zone is the best one. Now, I take it this other place in the UK basically started up after you, correct? And
well, it wasn't a physical studio. It was a virtual studio. So it was all online. But there's intellectual property that comes into play. But I think they were actually there before I bought the studio, but certainly after the studio was built.
Interesting. Now, you inherited, I won't ask you how you inherited it, but I mean, I got to ask you a question. Are you married?
Yes, I am. How
did your wife take it when you decided, hey, honey, you know what I want to do? What happened?
She still thinks I'm crazy, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't have many vices. I don't have, many things that really occupy my time. And we've been married. We'll be married 40 years, my wife and I. And she's known I've been a little out of my mind since she met me, so it's okay.
Nah, it's okay. I've been married going on 43 years. And I tell you what, when I told my wife, I was going to come back, I was retired. And a friend of mine, Art Bell, called me up a couple of years ago, before he died, naturally, not after he died, and lectured me to stop riding motorcycles and I should get back on radio and then get on the internet. Well, I started out on the internet, Ray, and now I'm on radio stations but the problem is, I'm not retired. I'm working now more than I ever worked when I actually was working. What can I say?
And I understand that completely. I mean, it's obviously more than a hobby, but it's, I do have a day job, and I've been working with a company. I just passed 31 years with the same company, and I'm probably working more now than I have most of my life, so I get it.
Oh, yeah. Now, if something breaks, okay, like I'm looking at the picture of, the main captain's chair, then the navigator's chair and whatever the other chair is. I mean, looking at a device that looks like something you'd look into for information coming off the control panel. What happens if something like that gets broken? I mean, how hard is it to get it replaced? Where would a person go to get something like that?
Well, there aren't too many places you can go to get things to be replaced, but we have a terrific staff, some of which have been with the studio since the very beginning, so 12, 13 years now. The two gentlemen, I'm just going to mention them by name, the two gentlemen who are my go-to people are Royal Weaver and Sam Rooks, and they not only keep and maintain the studio, but they are the people who will be there when you're filming from the time you open the door until the time you go home and take care of the lights. We have a joke about Royal because Royal is the only person who can operate the doors. So anytime you see a door open in one of these fan films from the studio, it's Royal behind the scenes.
Okay.
But we do have a staff of about maybe 20 people who want to pitch in whenever possible. So if something breaks, most of it's plywood. Some of it's not, but most of it is. And they know exactly what to do. I just sit back and say, do it.
Wow. Yeah. Now, what, well, you have the bridge. What other parts of the starship do you have?
So if you start at the beginning, you actually will start out in engineering. So we do have an engineering section. Looks just like engineering. It's amazing. And then you'll walk into the main corridor. So that hallway that you would always see them walk down with that curve, you go in through the hallway, and we have sick bay, we have the transporter room, we have the briefing room, we have auxiliary control, we have the captain's quarters, we have the Jeffries tube, we have a brig. We also have, then obviously you eventually end up on the bridge, a couple of turbo lifts where the doors open and close, and you can kind of turn the handle and pretend you're going between decks. We also have a shuttlecraft, the interior of the shuttlecraft as well. So it's pretty robust.
Oh, wow. So when you get this fan appreciation weekend, or when they come in, what's the average time a person is walking through the set?
There's a lot of different ways to answer that question. Some people are there all day. Some people, we walk them through and we let them know about the construction. But a lot of people just want to come and play. People want to come and see it. People don't believe at what they're looking at. If you wouldn't mind me digressing for a second.
Oh, go ahead.
I learned. I'm going to say I learned a valuable lesson in the last couple of years. One is that I guess I've been luckier than most, at least when it comes to Star Trek, because we all kind of sit around and say, we wish we had this, we wish we had that. Just like you, Gary, I've been a fan since 1966 or thereabouts. I've met the actors. I've met, Gene Roddenberry. I've met a number of people growing up, gone to conventions, made my own fan film. Now I own these sets. And you forget